India's role was to impress upon the government of Maldives the gravity of the issue.
We want him back.
Hello and welcome, I'm Amitabh Revi. The cross currents around the atolls of the Maldives have drawn in India. Now, why would a country with about 1,200 islands and a population of only about 4 lakh pull in a regional power like India? And why is the local politics there so relevant to the mandarins in the corridors of power in New Delhi, nearly 3,000 kilometers away? So those are questions we attempt to answer over the next half an hour on Maldives, Deal or No Deal. A diplomatic standoff has just ended with the country's ex-president Mohammad Nasheed leaving the Indian High Commission, where he had taken refuge fearing arrest. Being sovereign Indian territory, there could be no force used without sparking off a huge international diplomatic row. Mr. Nasheed enjoyed Indian hospitality for 11 days, while the Maldivian government insisted he must face the courts. His party insists the case is in order to bar him from September presidential polls. Well, India pushed the diplomatic accelerator with the foreign minister speaking to his counterpart twice and then a joint secretary level team being flown into the islands. It was only after dozens of meetings and 11 days that the ex-president chose to leave his diplomatic shelter. So, did India broker the breakthrough? Well, let's just rewind. Almost exactly a year ago, January 2012, Mr. Nasheed was the Maldives' first democratically elected president, but storm clouds were brewing after he ordered the military to detain a judge for allegedly favoring the opposition. Then protests broke out. An opposition-backed police mutiny with some elements of the military thrown in saw President Nasheed resigning in front of television cameras. With little of the backroom drama evident at that time, his deputy, Vice President Wahid, was sworn in and is still head of state. Well, after a day's silence, the former president surfaced to declare that he was overthrown in a virtual coup at gunpoint. Soon after, violent battles between his supporters and police broke out on the streets of the capital Malé and on outlying islands. So why is a country of 1.2 billion losing sleepless nights over an archipelago with a population of just about 4 lakh? All regional and global powers recognize the vital sea lanes that the Maldives straddles in the Indian Ocean, and New Delhi has had more than a strategic and military foot in the door. Since the controversial change of power a year ago, first India, then the international community called for dialogue. But in what many insiders feel was a knee-jerk reaction, New Delhi immediately recognized the new government. Eyebrows were raised since the ex-president was seen as a close strategic friend. Now, after giving him diplomatic shelter for 11 days, has India recalibrated its position? Joining us now from the capital Malé is ex-president Mohammad Nasheed. Mr. Nasheed, at your press conference soon after leaving the Indian mission, you said that you had come out with the understanding that you'd be able to conduct peaceful political activity and your social life. Now, what does that really mean? Is there a tacit or explicit deal?
I believe that there is some, although vague, contours of an understanding. That the idea was that the Indian government has got assurances from the government of Maldives that the elections would be inclusive, free and fair, and I would be able to conduct peaceful political activity. But unfortunately, this understanding is very precarious, it's very fragile, and there's not enough firmness in it. For instance, I am unable to travel today.
Mr. Nasheed, you sought diplomatic shelter, but then after 11 days you suddenly chose to leave the mission. The question we want to ask you is why?
Many reasons. One was that on that day a journalist was very badly beaten by vigilante groups. I feared that there would be retaliations on that, especially if I was not available out in circulation. That was one reason, and I also felt that the situation was deteriorating, and also at the same time I felt that there is some form of an understanding, and what was required from me, from the MDP, was to give space to both the coup government in the Maldives and the government of India.
But why enter? Was it, say, a well thought out strategy to bring India into the picture to internationalize the standoff?
Not at all. There was no place I could have gone. They were going to arrest me. You must understand that the government here was formed after a very violent coup. It's not a legitimately formed government, and I am their unfinished business. So when they want to consolidate power, they will try to get rid of me, and they are trying to do that very rapidly. When I went into the Indian High Commission, I really had no other place to go.
Now, you've thanked India, you've thanked the diplomatic staff and the High Commissioner. What specifically, in your mind, was India's role? The government of Maldives, of course, denies that there's any deal that they've reached.
India's role was to impress upon the government of Maldives the gravity of the issue, that all parties have to be able to take part in an inclusive elections to have stability in the Indian Ocean. India is projecting its newfound superpower positions, and then it has a number of tools available whereby it can attain its objectives.
Mr. Rashid, did India in any manner try or actually persuade you to leave, say by citing the fact that an indefinite stay could go against you, especially considering how even we've witnessed your door-to-door and island-to-island campaign?
No, Indian officials was always very vehement in saying that I would be free to stay and very welcome in the Indian High Commission as long as I wanted to stay.
What happens now? Now, it's most likely that the court will issue another summons. If you don't appear, there'll be another arrest warrant. Taking shelter in the mission really, again, is not an option for you.
Well, if that happens, I would hope the Indian government and the international community would intervene more robustly and make sure that things remain on track.
When we asked the government on your accusation of kangaroo courts, they countered by saying that you had set up these courts, that the judges were chosen by you when you were president.
That's not true.
Elaborate on that, Mr. Rashid.
Well, the Hulumale court, the 3 judges of the Hulumale court were selected just recently for my trial. When we were in government, the Judicial Services Commission, Judicial Administration has decided that the Hulumale court cannot function. It should not exist. After, when the law came in, it said that the court should not function.
The Maldivian government, Mr. Nasheed, has told us categorically that there's no question of delaying or dropping the case against you. The Prosecutor General has also echoed that. Ironically, that's again someone you appointed. So if the case goes against you and you are convicted, then what? Because technically or legally, you cannot contest elections.
The MDP has resolved to say that they will not be party to the elections if I am not able to contest. And they had gone further and say that they will proactively disrupt the elections if I am not able to contest.
No election at all, or are you talking about your party, MDP, boycotting the elections?
MDP is not just simply saying that it will boycott, it will also say that it will proactively disrupt the elections.
We saw Ibrahim Aswad Wahi, the head of news for the private Rajay television channel, which is of course sympathetic to your party. He's in a Lankan hospital, beaten with rods by vigilantes, we believe, a threat to his life. Now, how threatened do you and your supporters feel? Is your life actually in threat?
Well, there are mutinous elements both in the police and the military. And they were the central core of the coup. And as long as they remain, there's always a threat because, as I keep saying, I am their unfinished business.
Mr. Rashid, the whole world has heard of this horrific story of a 15-year-old raped by her stepfather giving birth, the parents killing and then burying the baby. Now, during questioning, apparently the girl has admitted to have had premarital sex with another person, something that is against the Sharia in the Maldives. The court has sentenced her to 100 lashes. Now, apart from the double horror for that girl, double injustice, headlines like these are real bad press for the Maldives, even if the government has said that it will appeal.
Well, it's these radical views that are marginal views that are finding center stage because of this very improper illegitimate political setup, or rather the government. This government is having to ask for support, seek for support from anyone that they can. And very often these people are becoming extreme radical religious views, and the government seems to be wanting to entertain these views.
Mr. Nasheed, after 2611, intelligence agencies in India have been looking at uninhabited islands and the threat that could emanate from the Maldives. There are reports of Maldivian youth who have been trained by the Lashkar-e-Taiba in Pakistan, and of course radical Islamism percolating the society. New Delhi is clearly worried, Mr. Nasheed, and you've made that point repeatedly to our government, but your opponents say that you're raising an Islamist bogey.
Radical Islam is an issue for us here in the Maldives, and this resurgence of that has been ongoing since the 80s and 90s, and we are concerned about that, and we would like to be able to conduct our usual religious life. We were very moderate, pious people, and we've been living a very normal life for the last so many years.
Now, a year on, Mr. Nasheed, just going back to a year, it's almost been exactly a year. Do you see that there's been a change in India's stance from February last year to February this year?
Well, I think, yes, India has calibrated their policies and their positions during the course of last year, and they are finding that to have stability in the Indian Ocean, we must have a free and fair multi-party election in the Maldives.
Mr. Nasheed, India has a traditional and strategic and military relationship with the Maldives, but now you have also been raising the China bogey. Is it just a bogey because President Wahid has signed military and economic agreements with Beijing, and New Delhi does see him playing the China card, and that's possibly why there has been a recalibration of the Indian stand towards the Maldives?
Well, if there is instability in the Maldives, there will always be room for other actors to come in, and therefore that is all the more reason why we should be able to have free and fair elections as quickly as possible.
Talking about elections, that is, if you are allowed to campaign, if you are allowed to participate in the 7th September presidential polls that are scheduled for that date, yours is, as of now, the largest party in the Maldives. But again, in your system, it has to be 50% to win. We saw what happened in 2008 when you didn't have 50%. You had to bring in then Vice President Wahid, who is now the president. But by the present assessment, you may run short of that magic mark of 50%. As of now, there doesn't seem to be any signs of your party having any clear signal of a coalition, nor has any other party said so. So how do you, Mr. Nasheed, plan to bridge that gap?
Well, give us the opportunity to contest and campaign freely. We will win this election handsomely in a single round. We will come out with more than 60% of the vote. I have no doubt about that.
Mohammad Nasheed, the ex-president of the Maldives, speaking to us from Malé. Well, coming up, we'll get the government, the current regime in the Maldives, what their view of the situation, what their view of India's position, and what their view of their ex-president. A government-appointed commission ruled that the handover of power in the Maldives in February 2012 was constitutional, something that the world and India accepted at that time. Meanwhile, the ex-president Mohammad Nasheed saw developments as the coup mask being thrown off. He accused Mamun Gayoom, the autocratic ruler, for 30 years of involvement in the so-called coup. His party, hardline Islamic and anti-India groups, joined the government. Eyebrows were raised even as the ex-president was seen as a close strategic friend of India, and the current government was seen as increasingly playing the China card against India. Earlier, I spoke to Masood Imad, who is the current president, Dr. Wahid's spokesperson. Mr. Imad, the Maldivian government has insisted that there was no deal brokered with India, but Mr. Nasheed indicated to us that he was free to carry out with his political and social activities. So is there some unwritten deal to delay or drop the legal case against him?
Well, there is no deal that was brokered between the Maldivian government and any party on the case of Mr. Nasheed. Mr. Nasheed is free to conduct his political activities here. He was free. He is free. But if you are referring to the issue of postponing his case, the court case against him, no, we do not have any agreements, or there is no understanding that has been brokered between him or even in the Indian government.
Mr. Masood, there's no current arrest warrant against ex-President Nasheed, but the Hulu Male court has in the past issued 2 arrest warrants against him that expired. So is that a distinct possibility again?
That is very much so. Hulu Male court is tasked to look into the case, and Hulu Male court is looking into the case of Mr. Nasheed. When the hearing is, when they decide, they can summon him again to the court.
Will, say, the Maldivian government advise, or is it thinking of advising the Prosecutor General to drop or delay the case against the ex-president?
No, this is not our business. We will not advise, neither will we get involved in this.
Mr. Imad, the former president accuses the government of running kangaroo courts.
No, it is not a kangaroo court. This is Nasheed's making. You know, Nasheed is a good stuntman. You know, he nearly pulled India and Maldives into a situation.
Mr. Imad, reports say that India warned the Maldives that international economic sanctions could follow if free, fair, credible and all-inclusive elections were not allowed, which basically, of course, is referring to Mr. Nasheed not being barred.
You know, if India is looking at Nasheed as a factor in this and not MDP, then that's a problem with India.
So in the end, the waters around the Maldives are calm as of now. But who knows what will be around the corner, since, as we've seen in the past, the more things change in the Maldives, the more they remain the same.